C Property Services, making your real estate dream a reality.
Tonight, we are in for another exciting and a very educational broadcast, as we will explore another insightful topic with our special guest tonight. So I'm going to ask you to stay tuned. Tonight's topic is the valuation surveyor's role in the real estate transaction process. All right, let's go right on to tonight's quote. Tonight's quote goes like this: many people dream of building wealth, a goal that can seem harder and harder to achieve simply because of lack of action. One of the strongest wealth building vehicles over time has been the investment in real estate. Not just a dwelling, but specifically in the land itself. All right, so without further ado, I'll just introduce our guest speaker, and he's none other than Mr. Ryan Taylor. He's a valuation surveyor and the owner of Task Property Appraisals Company Limited.
Thank you for having me. I am Ryan Taylor. As you know, I am the managing director for Task Property Appraisals Company Limited. I am also the current president for the Association of Land Economy and Valuation Surveying. I've been in this industry basically all my life. My father is a valuation surveyor, and so I grew up appreciating this field to the point where I went on to studied in UK, got a master's, all of that, so that I can be fully equipped to offer my clients the services they require. But God is good. I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping that I will be able to dispose some of this information on you today.
Okay, so I'll go right ahead with the questions.
Okay. Right, can go into the questions, definitely.
All right, so what are the requirements to become a valuation surveyor?
Okay, all right. Well, currently in Jamaica, to become a valuation surveyor, you have to go to UTEP, right? And study for 4 years. Now, when I went there in about 2003, 2000, it was the LEVS course, Land Economy and Valuation Surveying. It was a diploma course, but it has now morphed into a degree program, right? It is now the real estate management and the real estate REMV, we call it. It's real estate management and valuation, right? That is offered in the built environment at the University of Illinois. So you study for 4 years, and then after you study for 4 years, you have to now be attached to a professional for a year, at least a year, right? The real estate board just came out with some requirements that even if you're attached for a year, you have to meet those specific requirements. It mainly has to do with like the areas in which you're practicing, or your supervisor makes sure that you're practicing. So you have to do a certain amount of commercial valuations, you have to do a certain amount of residential and agricultural and industrial. So once you have done the 4 years at UTEC, you have done your attachment, and you have met the requirements from the board, then you can then join you can then now become a valuer.
What exactly does a valuation surveyor do?
Good question. We are land economists first. He's also a researcher. He has to find data. He has to research about the property. He has to learn everything about the property. He's a researcher, right? And the valuation surveyor is also a market interpreter. He determines what will happen tomorrow based on trends. So a valuer incorporates all these.
Why is it necessary to get a valuation report when selling a property, for example?
Well, it's important to get a valuation report when selling a property because you don't want to lose on your interest. You don't want to lose on your investment. I mean, it's a type of asset like stocks. So you want to win. You really want to win. There's a saying that says the greater the risk, the greater return. So you want to make sure that when you invest $10 million, it's worth $10 million. And if something happens tomorrow and you need to sell this asset, you can get back your money. So it's very important that you do a valuation from inception. I can give you an example. There have been situations where I've done valuations before and I can't arrive at the value that the price was set at, and the vendor was willing to come down on his price because I couldn't prove that. That client saved $2 million. So you don't want to spend, say, $35 million from the get-go when your property really can only be sold for $30 million. You'll be starting the race in the negative. You really need to start the race in the positive. So it's very important that you seek the advice of a valuation surveyor before you sign a sales agreement.
But let me, be the devil's advocate here now.
Mm-hmm.
We have scenarios in today's world wherein, because the real estate inventories are so low, that people are bidding much higher than what the property actually values.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to do the valuation, they realize the property is actually valued for less. But because they want to win the bid, they go ahead and they make this higher offer. What if the vendor decides that, hey, this is the offer that you have made and I am not backing down? Because we have had incidences of that.
Yes, definitely. What is happening is the type of market we have, and especially in certain sectors, it is more so high than others. Because if you're going into like a $50 million bracket, you're gonna have less purchasers there. But the reality of the situation is that we are making it worse for ourselves, because the reality of it is that a valuation is based on facts. So the valuer is going to put his value based on the data he receives. He can't put anything else in, right? He has to have data to back it up. Now, when he puts $20 million, but you are willing to buy it for $25 million, that now becomes data eventually, right? And then your neighbor is going to say, wait, but Tom is selling for 25 and mine is better than Tom. So he's going to sell his for 28. And then therefore we see property values going up. So we now become our own enemies because we are not sticking to what the data is showing. We're so desperate that's the best word I can find right now. We're so desperate to own a home that we're willing to spend more. And then eventually it's gonna have an impact on the market. But it is what it is. The market is gonna respond how it sees fit. People need homes, and so they are willing to spend a certain amount of money. But let me just give you an example here. And as I said, we're watching the market now because I believe we're in a testing period. This specific time, is a testing time because I see one bedrooms asking prices in certain areas for $40 million.
Oh,
I want to see if they are going to be bought. Because if they do, price is going to go up and values are going to go up.
My Lord. And what I have realized, that this is not only a Jamaican thing, it's an international thing. When I read other jurisdictions, Canada, USA, for instance, they are having similar challenges and they're having the same seller's market as well too, and they have low inventories like us as well. All right. So my next question is, why is the valuation report necessary when buying a property? We just dealt with when selling, so we are dealing with when buying.
Well, you want a deal. In short order, you want to make sure that you're at least paying for the asset at the right price. I always use the analogy, it's like a race. You want to make sure you start the race right. You don't want to start the race in a negative. So you want to either be ahead of the race or at the right line within the race. So you don't want to start off in a negative. So it's very important that whether you're selling or you're buying, you get a valuation report. But let me just say this as well. Banks require. So when you're buying a property, banks are gonna need a valuation report because they're investing too. Please understand, they're investing too. So they need to know that when they invest, they can get back their money if you don't pay your mortgage. So you realize the bank is being smart. You know, before they give you $10 million, they want to make sure they can get back their $10 million. It's the same way we should be thinking when we're buying or we're selling. You know, how much can I get? The banks before which is a BOJ requirement, the bank before they foreclose on your property, they have to do a valuation. Why? Again, because the bank don't want to lose. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with you. If you're selling a property, do a valuation. You don't want to lose. If you're buying a property, do a valuation because you don't want to lose. Real estate is big money. It's multi-million dollars. You need to be ahead of the game. And I think it's a culture that we have here in Jamaica, where we call the valuation surveyor when the sales agreement is signed, and then we expect the valuer just to put the sale price. No, I believe that culture needs to change. We need to understand the role of the valuer. The role of the valuer is to research and make sure that the property is priced right. And when we understand that, then we'll make more sound decisions and our market will not be this chaotic.
Why is a valuation necessary in the case of a deceased estate?
Oh, well, a valuation is required for government purposes. They charge based on the value of the property. So, I mean, I don't know the technicalities of it because I've never worked in government, to tell you the truth. I've always been in private sector. But I know it relates to the price. The government charge based on the value of the property. So it's required for that reason.
Oh, okay. Thank you. What other use does a valuation report serve?
Well, it is used for security. So if you want to send your children to school, and you need security, the banks will ask you for a valuation. You might need a valuation for legal matters. Unfortunately, like divorce and stuff like that comes around a lot. You need valuations also for just investment advice. So if you have a portfolio, you might want to know how to manage a real estate portfolio. So you may think that you want to sell this property now because the property values are not appreciating in that area that much, and you sell and you flip and all of that. So it helps in that sort of area for you to build wealth, basically. Yeah. So. And
I often look on valuation reports, and
right.
Of course that I have always noticed the 3 different types of values. So I'm going to ask them, what is a market value?
Market value is where there's an exchange of a willing buyer and a willing seller at a particular time, and the purchaser has to be knowledgeable of what they're buying. There's certain key things that makes market value. If somebody is tricked into purchasing a property, it's not market value, right? If I'm forced to buy this property, it is not market value. So the thing is, And it has to be marketed as well. Sorry. So if the property don't go in the gleaner, it's not advertised properly, you can't necessarily say that that price is reflective of market, because it wasn't advertised properly. Everybody didn't get to see it. You know, there's a situation now where I know an agent sold a property, but she did not advertise it, and so there's an argument now. Did she really get market value? No, she didn't. She cannot say it is, because she did not market it. So when we look for data, we try to assess properties that have been advertised, they show a true indication of how the market is reacting to this property, right? And then we use that as data to arrive at the market value for our property.
What is for sale value?
Yeah, for sale value is generally for auction purposes. The valuer will give institutions a guide as relates to the lowest point they should go on a particular property. Generally, we calculate it at 80% of the market value. That's just a guide, to tell you the truth, but it depends on the market. But it's generally used for auctioneering, advising the institutions don't go lower than that price, basically.
All right. What is the replacement value?
Replacement value. Okay, so that really has to do with insurance purposes. If there's a structure on the site, the valuer will estimate the cost to rebuild that structure. So he analyzes price per square feet and professional fees, and then he will determine what the replacement cost will be for the property. Meaning, if it was to be put in, built brand new, basically. Please note, reinstatement and replacement is two different things, right? Reinstatement means that I am building the property, right, to its original state. Yes? So if it's gypsum tile, you're getting back again. But replacement cost means replacing the structure with current materials, right? So if a valuer does reinstatement cost, that value may be different from replacement cost, right? Yeah.
What are the different methodologies you employ when you're conducting a valuation?
Nice. This is what I teach at UTech. All right, so you have about 5. So you have the comparative approach, the appreciated replacement cost, you have investment method, you have the residual method, and you have the profits method. The investment method, though, that really has 2 parts. You have the traditional income method, and you have the discounted cash flow. Now, these methods, because you have approaches, then you have methods. So the methods stem from the approaches. So the approaches is cost, income, and market. Under cost, income, and market, then you have all of these methods, right? The cost, you generally have the depreciated replacement cost and residual approach. Under the income, you would have the investment method, and of course I just mentioned the 2 types of investment method. And then on the market, you would have the comparable approach, right? So you have to know when to use when to use what. Remember when I started, I said we are research officers. Every valuation report is what I tell my students. Every valuation report is a project. It's a research. It's a final year project. So you have to have a methodology, right? You have a problem. You're gonna solve the problem at the end of the day using a particular methodology, and that's what it is. And then at the end of the day, you have a conclusion, right? That is what the valuation surveyor does. But he does it in real estate every single day of his life to pay his bills, right? So basically, those are the methods. But each method is used at particular. Each method is used based on the purpose of the valuation. There are instances where valuers will use more than one, but I may rely on one more than the other depending on the purpose of the valuation.
So you said it depends on what it is being used for. Then it will help to guide the methods. For example, it's a commercial valuation that you're doing. What are the methods would you use for the commercial? And the same, likewise for the residential as well.
All right. So you use it. You get a commercial. A client comes in, buying a commercial property. Okay. Now,
what are the combination of methods you would use?
Yeah, man. So the client comes in, wants a commercial valuation. Now, first thing I'm gonna ask, what's the purpose of it? Are you buying the property? Are you selling the property? He's buying, for argument's sake. Okay, fine. If somebody's buying a commercial property, he's more than likely an investor. He's not gonna live there, right? He's looking to get revenue from this in whatever way possible. So if he's an investor, it's the investment approach, which would be income, because he's looking to get an income. So first thing, you look at all three. It can be cost, because cost will relate to material and stuff like that. It can be market, because he's not looking to live there. He's just looking to get an income. So then now you go down the branch of income. What is under income? You have traditional income approach, and you have discounted cash flow. Now, in choosing each approach depends on the complexity of the property, right? Now, also, you have the profit approach, which is also under income. But the choice of the approach is dependent on the type of property, right? So if it's just a shop and he's looking to rent it out, you work the income approach. But if it's a plaza, which is more complex, where you have multi-units and multiple incomes and multiple maintenance and multiple outcomes going, you need to look at the cash flow. So that's the discounted cash flow, right? But let's just say it's a special type of property, in the sense, commercial property, in the sense where it is not the type of, you're not just buying the property, but you're buying the business and the property. Like a gas station. You're not going to get a gas station and turn it into a church or turn it into a shop. You're going to buy a gas station. It's a gas station. You know you're buying the business on there as well. Then you'd work the profits approach. Right? So you have to know when to use what. And it starts from the questions. From the client enters into your office, you will know the methodology that should be employed.
And for the residential, what's the approach or what's the methodology?
All right, so the ask yourself the question again. Okay, so client comes in, wants to buy the property, he wants to live there. So you're not going, it's not an income, it's not a cost, it's market. You need to determine market. So you would then look what is the approach on the market, which is a comparable approach, which is basically substitution, right? This apple was sold for $10 and that apple was sold for $8, but it has a little bite on it, and I have a full apple. How much would my apple sell for? You know, that's basically it. Substitution, right? Now the thing about it is that you have to understand that when you're doing the comparable method, you need to find comps that are most suitable, meaning as identical as possible, right? So realistically, you don't want a situation where you have a 2-bedroom, you're valuing a 2-bedroom, but you're really using three bedroom comps. It allows for too much assumptions, right? And you only revert to that if you don't have a 2-bedroom, right? So if you're doing a Caribbean estates, you're looking for 2-bedroom, you're looking for Caribbean estates 2-bedroom. The only way a valuer should use a 3-bedroom is if he cannot find any sale at all, and then he has to revert it.
Why are there variations in opinions on valuation reports from different valuers?
Okay. Again, my members hate me now. Okay. This is a problem that we're having, and please understand, we're humans. Valuers are humans. We can make mistakes. But let me go back to what a statement I said before. You have to know when to use what, and properties are getting complex, so you have to know when to use what approach. Let's just say you have a property on Mullines Road in one of those developments on Sundown Crescent, and it's a 2-story house, but it have 10 units in it. A man is gonna buy it. He's not gonna buy it to live there. He's gonna buy it to collect rent. Which approach would you use? Now, some valuers might come and use a comparative approach because it's residential. Some valuers might come and say, oh, it's a special property, so I'm going to use cost approach. It's a unique property, so that's why he chooses to do that. And he can't find a comparable with that property because it is a 2-story, 10-bedroom house. It's not like you have one down the road. Most of those places are single-family houses. So he uses the cost approach. But the real approach to use is the income approach, because whoever buys it is going to buy it to get an income. So you have to know when to use what. And next reason is because there's too much assumptions, and I feel like when that comes up, you're gonna have a lot of variations. So that is a major blow as to why we have differences. And also the data is slow. A sale takes 6 months, right? Roughly. Because when you're valuing today, you're valuing as of January 2022, but the sale happened 6 months ago that you're using as a data. And a lot can happen between 6 months. So the valuer now has to then appreciate to today's date that comparable. And my appreciation might be different from another valuer's appreciation. Mm-hmm. So you have variations again.
Right. How does that impact the consumer if the valuer undervalues or overvalues the property?
Tremendously. It affects the buyer tremendously, because he or she has a misconception of what the true value is. I've had situations where values were done before, five years ago, for say 20 million, and then I come and I value it for 15 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so there's a misconception. So the valuer now, the owner now is like, this man must be crazy. So, which I am the crazy one, because I come out less, right? Because he's expecting
but is it a case?
Appreciation in value.
But is it the case then that the property itself, the condition or the state of what it was 5 years,
nothing was wrong with the property.
Oh.
But it was overvalued, and so that's what I'm saying. It's just a misconception. Like if you undervalue, if you overvalue a property, and it comes back to responsibility of the valuer. You know? We play a very important role in it, because people believe in us and people entrust in what we say. Mm-hmm. So if you say that the value is $20 million. Man is going to run with it for the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. You understand? And he's going to go to the bank. He's going to feel like he has this level of equity, you know? Mm-hmm. And when he really doesn't. So it affects the buyer tremendously, and that's why I recommend that customers go to a valuer that is constantly trained, aligned to a professional body that enforces ethics and enforces professionalism. Because believe it or not, not every valuer is a part of Alex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are licensed by the board, but not everybody is a part of Alex.
Oh, okay.
And so, I'm pushing for that, that members, every valuer will become a member of Alex, but it has not been achieved. But it is a major blow. That is a major blow. Once we overvalue or undervalue, that can really set back a client. What
risks does a valuer face if he undervalues or overvalues a property and it is later discovered?
Okay. If he undervalues, if he undervalues or overvalues, the client, first of all, client can always ask for it. Up to now, I got that call yesterday. Taylor, I think your value is low. Remember where he was, right? I said, okay, I will review. Not a problem. But if the client believes, right, that the valuer undervalued his property or whatever, he can report the person to real estate board. Now, real estate board has what is called a disciplinary committee, right? And you can report the valuer to the board. But as a matter of fact, I'm a part of the board. I probably mentioned that before. But you can do that. But I'd recommend you speak to the valuer first, have a conversation, and I think the board asks for that first. And then if you still feel like you're being mistreated, then you can go to the board, and the board will make sure that you are properly represented.
Oh, okay. What advice would you give to someone who wished to enter this field?
What advice I would give someone who wishes to enter this field? Well, it is a huge responsibility, and I advise that you do your research and take it seriously, because every valuation is a potential court case.
Wow.
But a valuation can come back to haunt a valuer up to 7 years.
Wow.
So you can make money. I'm not going to tell you that it is not a lucrative field, but it's a risky field.
Yes.
Right? So you have to take the work seriously. Get your data, look at your data. At the end of the day, a valuation is a professional's opinion based on research. So once you have the data to prove it, then you are totally fine. But take the work seriously and understand the risk it takes to produce a valuation report. And listen, let me just say this. That's why we charge what we charge, right? I mean, sometimes people
it's not chicken feed.
No, sir, the price I man understand that it's a lot of work, and the risk that you take is high. So it's not easy after you inspect a property. You have to drive around and look at comparables and assess them, come out of your car and go and knock at the people them gate and say, how much your property did sell for? How much bedroom you have? It's not a nice thing. I'm telling you. So it's a lot of work, but understand the risks involved and respect the field, and you'll be fine.
Tune into our live stream, Real Estatically Speaking, with yours truly every second and fourth Friday as of November 2021. You can contact us at the information on screen.